Yes, good. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a nice hot lunch with smashed potatoes. And if there's anything that you can see, did something change on this stage? What is it? It's the car, isn't it? So that is also a Dutch car, I'm sorry to say. And this is all around what's happening here. So we're going to talk about vehicle-to-grid, which is, of course, a very interesting topic, difficult topic, very promising. And I thought we'd start with you trying to answer the question at the next Mentimeter. If you think about it, where do you think that vehicle-to-grid technically currently stands? Is it still in pilot form? Is it still commercial? Is it already commercially interesting? Oh, I see. Oh, look at this. Scalable and growing in some regions. Yeah. It's difficult, we know. It's one of at our help desk at the EV drivers, this is one of the most asked questions, like, okay, what's happening in V2G? And we did a market research among EV drivers, and I think about 80% of the Dutch EV drivers said, I want to have a car and a charging point that can do V2G. So, okay, well, Robin Berg, referring to. People think it's technically ready, but commercially limited. So, good to know. So, V2G is the topic of today. And we're going to start with a sort of demo. I was in Utrecht 2 weeks ago, and Robin Berg and Renault launched this incredible project with V2G, Renault 5s, and starting up with 50 cars, and I think they will step up to 500 cars soon. But I first like you to introduce to this V2G capital city of the world, Utrecht. So maybe start a movie of Utrecht Energized.
In a city like Utrecht, energy is everywhere. It comes from its people, their movement, their drive.
A lot of the clean energy we generate is lost.
We often generate more clean energy than we can use during the day. While in the evenings, we need it the most. When the city runs low on renewable energy, 500 Renaults give it back to the power grid. To support 190,000 households, so that the city and its people shine on.
Wow, and I studied in that city. It looks astonishing. And this is the main character of this Hollywood movie, Robin Berg from Redrive Solar. So please give him a loud round of applause. And he's watching his telephone now because he's doing something which I find sort of exciting, because he's going to do a live demonstration of the vehicle-to-grid. So I see this black, what is the black curtain? What is happening here?
That's our new charging station. We launched also 2 weeks ago in Utrecht. I took it with me, with this beautiful car. We drove all the way from Amsterdam, Utrecht, all the way here, so more than 1,000 kilometers. So it's not as clean as the Volvo.
No,
it's actually
dirty,
real-world usage of a car. But it was a nice trip to get with the whole delegation from the Netherlands, with the G4 cities. Yeah.
So what you're going to do now, I'm going to show you now a movie, a sort of explaining movie, what Robin is doing with Renault in Utrecht. And in the meantime, you are preparing the live demo, eh? So fingers crossed that this is going to work. So please go ahead, and maybe you can put on the Utrecht movie, the explain movie.
Welcome to the beautiful Dutch city of Utrecht, quite literally the sunny heart of the Netherlands. And also welcome to this brand new electric car. Well, come to think of it, thanks to technology, this very nice Renault 5 E-Tech Electric has become way more than just a car. When combined with the right solutions provided by the right partners, this car becomes an integral part of a revolution which makes our cities cleaner and our electricity grid more resilient. It all starts with solar energy. By the way, did you know that the Netherlands has the most solar panels per capita in the world? Well, now you know. And thanks to these solar panels from WeDrive Solar, these cars are locally charged using 100% green energy. And that's what we want, right? As you can see, the energy is now stored into the car's batteries, making this a mobile energy buffer. And now, here comes the real genius, we are also able to take the energy back from the Renault and feed it into the electrical grid when needed. Thanks to these very special bidirectional charging stations from WeDrive Solar. That's why it's called bidirectional charging.
All this extra available energy helps to balance the electricity grid, absorb energy peaks and even prevent blackouts, all using the batteries of these shared electric Renault 5s from the MyWheels fleet.
For many years, this has been a very great idea, but mainly on paper. But now, here in Utrecht, we see that this very useful solution has actually become reality. And if you ask me, that proves at least two things. First of all, pioneering and exploring is never a waste of time and money. One day, it will work. And second, innovation is accelerated through collaboration, as the partners of Utrecht Energized have proven today. So let's give a big thanks to
the Renault Group, MyWheels, WeDrive Solar, Stedin and the City of Utrecht.
Together we are charging towards a smarter, greener future. So I would say it's about time to follow their lead.
Wow. Well, you deserve the applause. So I'm giving you in my hands now, Robin. What are you doing? Do you need me to do something?
Yes. So let's show V2G real life. So what we have done is just basically bring the car here, took our charger, and connected it to a 16 amp connection provided by this beautiful location. Normally, the discharging is powered by a charging profile generator based on the departure time of the car sharing system of MyWheels, which is operating the cars in Utrecht. Right now we have a simple demo charging profile which does charging and then it does discharging. So, and you can see it in two ways, and then I will show you the charger.
Ooh. Yeah.
So there's our nice little logo. It's the sun going the right way, and then when bidirectional charging starts,
yeah, going like this.
Show it like this, and it's better visible close up.
So it's
And then after a minute or so, it will change direction, and that is when you will see that bidirectional charging has started. And at the same time, in the car, you can see the flow going from left to right. Can you see that on the big screen? Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, and then when the bidirectional charging starts, it should change direction. And I know it's always different to do something like this live on stage.
And I know it's the Swedish grid. I don't know if that's a difference.
But if it happens, and I don't know if there are any Swedish grid operators here. No, that's good, because it will probably be the first time a French car will deliver power back to the Swedish
It's
grid.
refusing until now.
And now it goes into power save. Let me reconnect.
But I've seen it, you guys. I've seen it in action in Utrecht. So believe us.
Yeah. So that's always when you start and stop the car, then suddenly the charging profile will maybe change. But now it will start from scratch, and then after a minute it will go to bidirectional charging. So we will get it live, but I have to have one more minute of patience. So this is the charging station starting up.
Yeah.
There it goes into charging. And we don't have yet grid certification for the Swedish grid.
You can grab a cup of coffee in between if you want.
Yeah, it was working during the video.
Yeah, never.
So
well, what we can do is listen to your story already and leave this. And the moment I see it's charging or discharging,
Yeah.
I will give of you a call. Shall we do that?
Yes.
Okay, then you leave your telephone here,
Yeah.
and maybe if you would like
Yeah, good idea.
to, start telling about your story, because this is the result. But the work that he's been doing, you're going to talk about. So
Exactly.
feel free
Yeah.
to
Thank you.
explain it on the stage. Give him a loud round of applause.
So yes, Robin Berg, CEO We Are Solar. Let's get started with the presentation. So we started this project basically already more than... sorry. Yeah. So it works. Here. Thanks. Timing is everything, I know this. Yes, I got...
I'm completely confused now. It works. Yeah.
All technical mix-ups, but we'll get there. Everything will be fine at the end. 10 years in the making, this moment, working together with Renault already for so long. And this really goes back to the time that we started with this project in Utrecht, with the King coming to Utrecht, showing the first setup with the Renault 5, specially made for the project, and the first bidirectional AC public charger. A lot has happened since then. The standards came into place, the technology has been developed, a lot of investments has been done at our side and around the charger, developing new hardware and software to make this possible. At Renault side, to implement bidirectional charging into production cars. We've done a lot of testing in Paris at the Technocentre. Here you see our charger in the back and the Megane with the Renault 5 charger in the front to test and test. Also, the grid validation is, of course, very important. You cannot just deliver power to the grid when excuse me, someone's calling me. Never use your phone during a presentation. When you deliver power back to the grid, it has to be safe, especially if you roll out with a large number of cars. Testing and validation also at our factory in Hengelo with the Renault teams. And then we could go live. And for us, this was a very special moment. We installed 50 of our newest chargers in Utrecht. We did it in March of this year. Then MyWheels installed 50 brand new Renault 5s, which is a very nice car for car sharing. And then we could bring V2G live. It's working now. We have 50 cars doing V2G every day. And it's with a lot of ambition behind it. So if this works well in the coming weeks, which we see is now looking very good, MyWheels is planning to do their whole fleet bidirectional, which means 500 cars in Utrecht, and not just the Renault 5, but also the Renault 4, the Renault Megane, and the Renault Scenic, who will all start to support this technology, and then also bring it to other cities. We are in good talks with Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Eindhoven, where MyWheels had a lot of cars, especially in Amsterdam, 1,000 shared vehicles there. And MyWheels has the ambition to make them all bidirectional and have by far the largest bidirectional fleet in the world. And that can happen within now and 3-4 years. And the other reason why this is scalable is that we are using open standards and protocols. So as I mentioned, the car has a reservation system operated by MyWheels. MyWheels sends the departure time to Renault, and then via the charger, so that is the ISO 15118-20 protocol, we get on the charger a lot of information. We get the departure time, we get the state of charge, and then we get the information about the status of the car and how much we can charge and discharge. We bring that information through the back end of Last Mile Solutions, which is a leading partner in this project, via OSPP and OSPI, which are open standards, which are getting ready for V2G, especially OSPP 2.1. We get this information, and then we have our charging file generator, who generates the charging profiles and sends it back to the car based on the energy tariffs. And in the Netherlands, we use dynamic energy tariffs, which is very attractive, as we have a lot of solar and a lot of wind, which is really shifting the energy system as we speak. So on an average day in May and April, this is how the weather looks like in the Netherlands. You have like more than 25 gigawatts of renewable production at peaks, while we only use half. So you see a lot of overproduction at certain times, prices dropping below zero. That's when we charge. And then at night, of course, we will discharge and bring this renewable energy into the houses also, as you saw in the beautiful Renault movie. This is the future. And that's why we also announced this new product. We're very proud to have now also this wall box. We call it the Solar Life AC charger, to bring this concept from public space also to the private space and parking garages. If you want to know more about this project, at 4:30 in this afternoon we have a special session where we have Alderman Eva Oosters from the City of Utrecht available, and also other people from Didier from Renault and from Baarten from Steden. So we dive deep in how this is built, the technology we're using, and that's it. Thank you for your attention on this.
And he will be back because we will have a panel afterwards. Just one question, is this a world premiere, this thing now?
Well, it's the first French car delivering back to the Swedish grid, so that's a world premiere, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to take a picture of this because it's a unique moment.
It's a unique moment, so
Yeah.
take pictures. But see you back at the panel. So we've got a panel coming up, but first we do 3 sort of short pitches from the panelists, and then we go and sit at the panel, and you can ask questions as well. So I've got an iPad here, and then you can ask questions. Robin, I think you took the pointer? They take everything, the We Drive Solar people. Huh? And are you looking at the sun? Okay, next, he did it together with DJ Deruy. He's from Renault, the research director of Renault. He's got a new boss since today, I read in the newspapers. But DJ, please come into stage and explain what you did in this project. Please give him a big round of applause.
Hello everybody, nice to meet you. So my name is Didier Deruy and I'm working in a company I will explain a little bit that is called Ampere. Ampere is the first European intelligent EV pure player company. That means that intelligent means software, so we are developing the software design vehicle technologies, and of course EV means electric vehicles, and so we are developing the electric design vehicles. Ampere is working for Renault. We are the developer of this vehicle, the Renault 5, the intelligent electric vehicles, and we are providing intelligent EV technology for the other brand of the group, Alpine, Dacia, Mobilize, and even Partner. We are not just an engineering company, we are a full-fledged company from research to mass production, including all the function needed for that, engineering, manufacturing, strategy, marketing, and everything like that. And of course, we are not also a startup. We are 11,000 highly skilled people, and I'm supposed to be one of these. I've got a special story about V2G, of course, that's why I'm here, but also about EV Symposium, because I started to work on V2G 10 years ago, in 2015. And since the beginning, we decided that for this technology to scale up, it must be shared and standardized. And we decided to use EV Symposium to do, let's say, annual communication about this advance of the project and where the status is. That's why I came first at EVS in 2017, it was in Stuttgart, and we presented the challenge about V2G, we call it grid code, that's a technical requirement that you have to fulfill to get access to the grid and get the right to inject. That's what we did, and at the same time, in our lab, you've seen the picture with Robin, we were testing how to do V2G using ISO 15118. and 8. That's why 1 year later, we come in Kobe, Japan, and we explain how to modify ISO 15118 and 8 to do V2G. That's the dynamic mode you have today in the protocol that has been defined by Renault. And at the same time, in our lab, we were testing the first full feature of V2G vehicle, I mean a vehicle plus a wall box able to do the services. And 1 year later, we were in Lyon We demonstrate that this technology was able to fulfill the grid codes, and we go to another stage that is an on-field demonstrator. We built what we call the Blue Zoe, and we just started the next stage, and one of these was with Robin. You have the pictures of it, and it was the first V2G car sharing experiment in Utrecht. If I'm here now, it's always to demonstrate and share. So I have to demonstrate that this car, we succeed to industrialize V2G. Okay? And we are not just doing V2G. This car is not only V2G ready. What we did, and it's live in France, it's to introduce a full V2G operational services to our end customer. And what is quite innovative with that is this services is free for them. I will explain. Thanks to economy of scale, to do V2G services, first you need a car. Thanks to economy of scale, all our Renault 5 have the technology, V2G technology embedded. It's not an option. You don't have to pay for it. It's included in all the Renault 5 delivered, whatever in place. The second thing you need to do services is you need a wall box that is V2G compatible. Like many OEM, when you buy an EV, we offer you the wall box. That's what we do, and the wall box we are offering is the one that is supporting V2G. So once again, you don't have to pay for this option. And the third thing to have to do to get the services is to activate, to subscribe to the services. The subscription is free, and there is no commitment. You can stop whenever you want. So the only risk the French customer have to take is to subscribe and save money, and for the average, they will save half of their home charging cost just by activating the V2G. I say I'm here to share and standardize. We are obviously actively working on how to make this solution interoperable, so standardize, and we are also working to open the technology. That's what we did with Redride Solar in Netherlands, to have an access to this technology in other countries. So I'm, like CTO of this solution of CoreSource, I'm obviously pushing for smart charging and V2G, convinced that it's the best solution for EV scale-up. But I'm not the only one. You have my previous CEO that supports Utrecht Energies, and that show that I'm not the only one to push for V2G. It's a complete company that is doing that. Thank you.
Well, we see him later in the panel as well. So I would like to now invite Jussi Palola. He's from the Finnish company Virta. He's the Chief Innovation Officer and the co-founder. So please give a round of applause for Jussi.
I'm really pleased to be here. EVS 26 last time in Los Angeles, we have gone way forward in this industry. We are mission critical platform for charging businesses. We are operating and providing the platform for charge point operators all over Europe and Southeast Asia to run the EV charging business. We are and have been integrating V1G and V2G to the charging businesses, because this is one of the essential part to make also charging network scale, make it profitable, and this is really fundamental piece that drives the networks services forward. Here we can see the picture. We are now, for example, this month opening V2G public station in one of the locations here, and we are developing the platform to run the services, bring these assets to the networks. What we are doing, last year, 21 million charging events on the platform, different countries, 36 countries of them. More than half a billion euro worth of charging infra connected, which amounts approximately 3,000 megawatts. Largest nuclear reactor in the world is 1,750 megawatts. So we are talking tremendous power on V1G and V2G. This, what we do, since 2017, we introduced vehicle-to-grid chargers to these services. And In Finland, now we are talking about regulation. It is one of the most advanced countries which actually allow the chargers to be connected to the transmission system level. For example, here in Sweden, Svenska Kraftnät, it is not yet ready, but in Finland we have the mode going on where the V2G chargers contribute the frequency containment reserves, really making help for the grids to be online and on balance. What we do in this picture, for example, we aggregate all the AC chargers in the nation in our network, and we bundle them together as a virtual power plant, able to produce within seconds more than 10 megawatts of reduction, really fast reduction of power. And V1G is enabler for vehicle to grid. Why? We know really we are looking here at the stage, one of the most advanced vehicle to grid solutions available in the world. And still we are talking about 500 cars. But when these solutions are bundled with the smart charging, V1G, we get a really substantial impact. And this is what we do. We bundle them together in order to have the virtual power plant scale impact. So, really pleased to be here, and this is a Virta introduction.
Thank you. And just for, I had a hard time, V1G, I thought, what is that? But that is a sort of smart charging. Can I summarize it like that? For the people that don't know what V1G is. Okay, last introduction, last key. He's also Dutch. What a surprise. His name is Joris Laponder and he's CCO at Zaptec. Please, Joris.
Good afternoon. And thanks for having me on stage, and also thanks for the big audience that is coming and showing up for this interesting theme. My name is Joris Laponder. I'm a Chief Commercial Officer at Zaptec, and I have more than 24 years experience in the energy transition, and in the last 10 years I'm happy that I'm also a part of the e-mobility industry. And I think also because I'm from the Netherlands, it's great to see that we have a project live in Utrecht in the Netherlands. And the fun fact is, my heart beats a little bit faster because it's a Renault. And my father and grandfather, they had a Renault dealership since the 50s of the past century. So it makes me a proud man to see Renault and a Dutch company moving ahead like this. But that was a little bit personal. I think from my point of view, I'm responsible for the commercial activities within Zaptec. For the people that don't know Zaptec, Zaptec is a Norwegian EV charging company. In the meantime, we have subsidiaries in 8 countries throughout Europe, but we are supplying all over Europe at the moment. We are one of the leading companies currently, and in the past 12 months, we installed over 240,000 chargers in the market. And that's the interesting point for me to address with the topic we have today, with the vehicle to grid. And for me, it's all about, it's a game that you're not there on your own. And I think from a Zaptec perspective, it's a big puzzle. The ecosystem of the energy transition, the mobility transition, the e-mobility transition itself, it's a big puzzle and you have to connect with each other. And I think the aim for Zaptec is that we are an easy piece of the puzzle where it's easy to connect with. And to make sure that we can, in the end, grow fast and make sure that each individual person in Europe has the ability to have these solutions like vehicle to grid. It is also about open cooperation and to set up partnerships with each other, and we need each other in that. So that is my purpose within Zaptec, to operate together with clients, together with energy companies, together with OEMs, to make sure that we are able to make the next steps and to make it from small scale to large scale adaptability in the upcoming years. And that's where I'm for, and that's where my teams are for. If you want to know more from Zaptec in depth, I invite you to meet my colleagues at the booth downstairs. And I'm happy to join the panel discussion for the next few minutes on stage.
Thank you. Can I ask DJ, Jus and Joris on stage, please? Go and sit over there. And I was wanting to ask the public, if you've got questions for one of those people, just put it there, because I've got this nice iPad and I can see what question you ask. And currently there's no questions. Oh, there are. Oh, but words are so small. I hope I can read them. Well, V2G, it's there. That's it. We're there. It's working.
Yes. Yes.
It's working. I was just wondering, I mean, V2G is, of course, is there to help stabilize the grid. Smart charging is doing that. Smart charging we can do tomorrow, today. V2G we can do now. But I wanted to ask you, the four of you, like, if you have to choose, is V2G a nice to have for the future, or is it a need to have for the future? I'm going to start off with you.
It is need to have. I would say, if you look where the Europe is going, doubling the renewable energies and beyond, that basically the flexibility need is not only doubling, because when we're adding renewable electricity to the grid, we need to have more flex even than the capacity we add. Why? Because the balance of the networks basically historically built on rotating generators and rotating motors. And now we are introducing lots of renewable energy, which has low inertia. So we need to actually maybe triple the flexibility in power scheme and in energy at the same time.
Yeah. So for you, it's a need to have.
Definitely. I would say that is in our estimations, we are today, I would say the whole Europe market is around 20 million euros in these flexibility operations, so really tiny. But during 2030, we see an estimate to be 500 million market, but 2035, it is going to be 4 to 5 billion euro market. So there's also viable economics behind it.
Joris, what do you think?
It's a need to have. It's a part of the energy transition. And in the end, it's both ways. We have countries where you have scarcity in grid connection and grid capacity, for example, in the Netherlands. So it's a part of the solution to make sure that the grids still operate. But I think also it's needed because we have end consumers. We have consumers that use cars that needed electricity. And that's, I think, the most important thing. They also need to have grip on their cost base, because we don't need to forget that it's also a cost-based thing. And we have an end consumer where you want to have things working seamlessly and that they have grip on their cost base. And I think that's why it's also a need, because I think solar, but also storage, also the flexibility in the energy market where you don't have add-ons, it must be very simplified for the end customer because they don't want to have an hassle.
But your company is Norwegian.
Yep.
And I know that, for example, I'm just talking from the angle from the EV drivers.
Yeah,
I know that my colleagues at the Norwegian EV Drivers Association, they check if people want to have V2G.
Yeah.
And they say, no, smart charging is more than enough because we don't have the problems you have.
Exactly. So, but I'm looking at it from a European perspective. And I think that's also my game within Zaptec. It's that we don't have the discussion within Zaptec because we are a Norwegian company where we started. But in the meantime, we already made the transition to a European company. So we address it not only in the Netherlands, but also in other countries in Europe. And like I said, it is not only on the side of V2G, but it's also what can you do with your solar and your storage at house.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that will happen more and more in the future. People want to have a more self-development solution at their houses.
Yeah, but is V2Home then not sufficient?
It could be, but I think it's never a standalone thing because you also have an energy supplier. You also have storage in the future, but the car is your storage in the end. So it's a game, and that's why I mentioned it also before. It's a big puzzle, and you need to be aware of that the ecosystem is bigger than only one-on-one cases.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do I need to ask it, DJ? Is it a need or a nice to have?
It's clearly a need. When we started the electric vehicle, we learned that it's an ecosystem and we cannot develop electric vehicle alone. We have to consider what will be the impact on the other, and especially in terms of energy and grid. And the only way to scale up the electric vehicle is to not only be a mobility object, but also be part of a solution for the grid that we will use. And so flexibility, renewable energy, all the things you are considering are just necessary to be able to introduce mass introduction of electric vehicle without unexpected consequence for the other part of the ecosystem. That's why it's a need for us to follow this, to implement this technology.
Yeah. And if you look, because Renault is really far ahead, do you look at different brands to see what they're doing on this field? I mean,
I believe, yes, of course. We were one of the pioneer in electric vehicles, and so we are still, let's say, one step ahead, thinking about what should be done next. That's why we've introduced such kind of technology, be the first in the world to introduce it, because we consider that it will be the next.
I don't think I'm going to ask you to choose, because I know your answer already, but maybe there's this question I got here, if I can. It's like Francesco, he's asking, like, is the future of V2G mostly DC or AC?
Yeah, that's the most uninteresting question. So I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to answer your first question.
Okay.
Because
first, the easy one. Yeah.
I don't believe in AC versus DC. We did that like 100 years ago. Yeah. Both technologies will coexist in different use cases. That's my answer. And I wish them all the best. It's a must-have. So it's not just a need-to-have, it's a must-have. If you see how fast renewables are finally growing, which we need quite badly for different reasons, there's only one way to finish the energy system based on renewables, and it's storage. And storage is for the daily routine is batteries. And 90% of the batteries end up in cars. So if we want to build this energy transition without installing batteries everywhere and do again such a massive investment, which will take too long, so we need to use the car batteries. It's the only way to be able to follow the speed of the energy transition in the current way. And we see that in the Netherlands at its core. So we have now the most solar panels per inhabitant in this crazy country in the north of northwestern Europe. That's basically the future of how the energy production will look in any country. So it's a need to have. And also for the cities locally. So on a global perspective, but also locally. If you look at Utrecht, and it's not per coincidence that this is happening in Utrecht. Utrecht is having the most severe grid congestion. And you can hear all about it also this afternoon. During this session we have. It's the only way to solve this within the terms, the time Utrecht has, is to use all the assets already in place.
Yeah.
You cannot build new things in the city. The city is already crowded. There are like 140,000 cars in the city, just sitting there most of the time. So that's why I think it's a must-have, and it's why we're pushing so hard to scale it up.
15 years ago, I made a PhD in the power grids and the future of it. And I've been looking at ENTSO-E reports on Iberian Peninsula blackouts. But in short, I would claim, if we would have this kind of technology, what we are looking here as a standard solution, we would talk about 5,000 megawatt of power, which in seconds to react. And if we even the early reports mentioned that there was a quite important fact that 2,200 megawatt of solar power tripped and really cut out from the network. And if you compare now even the EVs at Iberian Peninsula, if we would aggregate them together today in this manner, we are talking about 5,000 of rated power of megawatts. So I would even claim that when we do this properly, this technology can prevent this kind of blackouts happening.
I know, but you know what? There's also a problem with this technology because V2G, it's complicated. It's buzz. No one knows exactly. And one of the questions is that people say, when is it off the shelf? When can I just order a car? I mean, that is something which is quite blurred. And you know, I told you already that at the help desk of the Dutch EV drivers, this is the question we get every day. I want to buy a V2G ready car and I want to buy a V2G ready charging point. But we cannot advise them because we don't know. I would like to get an answer from you guys. What do we do with this situation? What do I answer them?
Yeah, so it took quite some time, for me 10 years, and also with the Renault and the other partners, quite some time to get this live to the market, because the standards were not in place and still are not finally in place, but it's now falling into place. So for us, this is now the moment that if tomorrow another company says, like MyWheels, I want to have 1,000 bidirectional cars, can I do that? Then we can finally say, yes, we can. Can we do that in all of Europe? Not yet, because there still needs to be done to have like a standard grid certification for maybe the EU, or at least some part of EU. That would be nice. That would speed it up as well. Then you have a bigger market. But today in the Netherlands, yes, we can. We can scale up, and it will happen, and also for B2C. So Renault announced that they will introduce B2C.
V2C, vehicle to consumer. It's
yeah,
the consumer. They really
at home.
get them off the shelf and then buy. And I think you told me, I think Renault, I don't know if it was you, but someone from Renault told me that early next year, you can buy a Renault Sank, you can buy the charging pole, and you have to buy a Dutch energy, an energy provider, and you have to buy. You can buy that in one package, and then it works at your home. Is that what the case?
That's what we are offering today in France. In fact, you do everything at the dealer when you buy the car. You buy the car, the charging pole, and you can subscribe the service if you want as soon as it is installed at home. And that's this kind of one package we want to offer in every country. What happened with the energy world, it's always a local ecosystem. So you have to find, you have local technical requirements that sometimes you discover late, and you have to do some adjustment in your product. And you have to find a partner, because to do V2G, you must align, of course, the car maker. That's not difficult for us, but you must align the infrastructures, you must align the installer, you must align the energy service provider or energy thing, and you must align the grid operator. Yeah. So it takes time. There is a lot of regulatory steps to be done before we are able to implement and to deploy. That's what we are doing, step by step, country by country. And due to the complexity and due to the not harmonized rules as today, it's long and complex. Just one question about how we make it simple for our customer in France. In fact, we will never explain them how the electric system is working. We're just asking them to plug and to start a V2G session. And we pay for each hour of V2V session, like rental, they offer to us. Whatever the car is doing, if it's charging because the battery is empty, if it's doing nothing because the market is not good for trading, we pay each hour of plug-in under V2G. And it's very simple for them to understand.
I really like it, because I'm really enthusiastic about what you're doing. But what if I want to buy another car within 2 years? Not a Renault, but I like it, the Kia. What do I do? Do I need to buy another charger? What happens then?
I think that is the interesting case. I think where we still are, I think you mentioned it, DJ, it's local, but also closed ecosystems that are currently happening. And I think that's time that we, as an industry, I'm really happy with the developments momently, because if people are talking about it, we are acting on it, and then it's starting to execute on it. And I think in the end, it's scalable when you have freedom of choice, that it doesn't matter what kind of car you drive, which brand you drive, but that it's working. And I think that is really important, but we are not there yet. So I remember the first question before we started presenting. I think that I'm agreeing with the percentages that were standing there. I think we're making steps right now, but for me, the open landscape is that people start being a little bit more open, and that you can develop it with each other, and that the moment that it's really scalable, it doesn't matter whether your uncle, brother, or mother-in-law comes with a car and he wants to use your charger and wants to do vehicle to treat. Never mind what kind of brand it is. That's the moment that you can say it's scalable. And also, if you, for example, change from energy supplier or change from grid operator that you leave to another house, that's, I think, future.
But how
now making steps?
I mean, is it 2 years,
don't really
3
agree.
years?
So this charger we developed closely with Renault, but it's fully based on the protocols for bidirectional charging. Thanks to Renault being a partner to implement bidirectional charging based on the standard that has been developed for that, the 1511A-20.
Yeah.
That's in place. It's in this charger too. So if you buy this charger, and I'm going to make some advertising now, and I can because I'm a sponsor, but of this event. But so if you want to buy another car, and it supports the protocol, you don't have to change this charger. It's ready. You can buy it. It's future-proof, and that's important. And yes, it also will support OCP 2.1 using a software upgrade over the air. We can do that. And yes, it will be ready for other standards to be in place, including all the different grid requirements in all different countries. We integrated a full grid monitoring in this beautiful, small charging station. And it doesn't even make it that much more expensive than a normal charging station. So this charging station is ready. It's on the market today, and we will ship it after the summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but this year we started a deeper cooperation with Valeo, for example, tier one manufacturer on automotive industry, due to the reason that actually like onboard charger is a really important piece on vehicle to grid. So technology which is connecting to charger on the standard basically can run on any car. Of course, somebody needs to lead it. Definitely, I would say that Renault is AC vehicle to grid leader in the world. We've seen lots of, I'm participating on DC side pilots, and we see there's a room for DC vehicle to grid charging as well. But like I said, it need to really deeply knit to the car technologies in it and the charger, but it is only a matter of time.
Yep.
There is going to be steps by steps, but it's inevitable.
Yeah, and what I like about what you're doing, you prove that it is there. So it's. I was walking on this exhibition area, and I could see this DC charger with a battery in it. Is that something that can be used, or?
Sure, if you have a limited grid connection, you can. But it's very important to understand that it's also, for example, the OCPI protocol that's very important. So currently we are doing the cars in Utrecht based on the dynamic energy tariffs. So that's like one market of the energy. Starting in 2 months is also the congestion market, which especially for Utrecht is very important. So if the grid operator stayed in locally has a problem on the grid, they announce it 24 ahead and we can do a bidding with those 50 cars and later with 500 cars to prevent this congestion from happening. We can also make money there. Via the same OCPI protocol, we can send this charging profile integrating this new part of the energy market. And so also other markets, frequency control, other markets will be integrated in the coming year. And using these standards, we can basically do now everything. So we are ready for any kind of future. And that's so great about these standards finally coming to life, as we are talking about them for years and years. And also in OCPI, so now V2G will be supported in the near future. And that's really what matters here and what is happening today.
I'm going to look at the OEMs and the batteries. I mean, to what extent do you think the OEMs will allow flexibility in using their batteries for V2G?
In fact,
we need them.
What we are doing is I will explain. V2G is included in the battery warranty. So you have 8 years of V2G. You can do whatever you want. It's covered by the warranty. And of course, that means that your state of charge will be correct after 8 years. My first job, I was an electric vehicle and I was responsible for our battery. And since the beginning, we were very worried about the battery lifetime. We have all the experience of the mobile phone, and we know that it's only a few years of usage. Because I was at the beginning, because I know that we have 10 years of Zoe on the street and we are not changing any battery anymore, we are clearly not personally worried about this subject. And that's why we introduce V2G, because we know that we have over capacity in terms of lifetime. And of course, there is always a system that is doing a limit. So we have added an extra limit in terms of amount of energy to be used for V2G. When you finish this amount, you finish V2G, but you keep mobility, without problem about that. And it's covering largely most that 8 years of intensive use of V2G. That means that we are sure that no customer will be cut before 8 years. And we just take 8 years at this moment because we just want to see what will be the usage to be able to open and say, okay, you can continue for 10, 12, and either for the vehicle lifetime. So it's just a security in terms of claim of warranty to make sure that nothing unexpected will happen during the lifetime of the vehicles.
Okay.
And maybe one point, if you consider when you are driving with the EV and put pedal to the metal, the power which is taken on the battery, it's quite high amount compared to this 11 kilowatts. And the second point is that we've been also taught that it is better to walk a little bit, not to sit on front of the computer whole day. Same is for the EV batteries. When it's staying long time in some location, it's much healthier for battery, for example, to participate this kind of frequency containment reserves, where they are used in small period of time with a limited power, so it actually can improve the battery life cycle when done properly.
I've got some questions in the room. This one is for Robin. In the MyWheels project, the charging profile is sent to the car, if I understood correctly from Robin. Can the V2G also be initiated by the charger? Wouldn't that be a more robust setup?
Yeah, so it's sent to the car, but it's fully controlled by the charger. So that's the great thing about this protocol, the Dash20 protocol. The charger basically can control the car, the charging, based on the parameters set by the car and other needs like the energy market or departure time. So you can control by the charger. That means that you can control a fleet. That means that you control 100,000 cars or 1 million, and it becomes a virtual power plant. And that's really interesting because then you can actually access a lot of energy markets. So the charger is doing its work, and the car provides the basic info on which the charger does this.
Yeah, I hope it's a good question. Otherwise, he should go to your deep dive session. Looking at the time, I want to have a sort of last question. Like, I'm going to ask you all, like, what do you think needs to be done by legislators, by policymakers, by technicians, to really accelerate the market of V2G? If I ask you, what do you answer?
I would say that harmonizing the rules to access these really valuable assets to the network. Why need for acceleration is such that of course, the historical need for power flexibility has been designed for power plant scale units. That is the history of 100 years of electrical systems. So it was maybe 20 years ago, the reserve was like, okay, big energy company builds a gas plant which is used a couple of hours of years, costing 100 millions. And the rules of engaging these assets are designed historically for these like really large assets. What is benefiting, and we've seen that happen, to make the rules compatible for vehicle to grid and V1G as well. And what kind of rules I'm talking about? First, the grid participation. What kind of reaction times, the market instruments to bid these assets to the markets. Second one, the grid protection rules, because these chargers are under different DSO, distribution system operator, who is the electrical grid provider in the region. And that rule is not yet fully harmonized, that what kind of local generators like vehicle to grid can be added. I would add that actually the charger really needs to know the grid rules of Utrecht, of the different cities where they are, because the cars can move, but the charger actually is physically really tightly knit to the power grid.
Okay, a bit shorter answer from you, please.
I will do. I will do.
Yeah.
Now, I think one is very simple. Make sure that the regulations in Europe to install a V2G charger are aligned. I mean, that's where it starts. That's not where we're there yet. And I think each day there are installations of each EV chargers. That's one important thing. And the other thing, it's nice that there are protocols, but at the moment, each OEM is working on its own island. So we're not there yet. And I think that's the most important thing, is when cars are coming off the bands and are coming on the streets, that will improve speed.
Yeah. DJ.
I will try to make it fast. There is still many things to do, but in fact, we should consider that all the regulation have been done for the energy to go one way. Either you are a consumer, either you are a producer. Here we come with bidirectional, and there is incompatible when you try to mix the two. So you have to rework most of the regulation and the system to take in consideration this bidirectional, and it's even moving, what is not usual for equipment at home, to make things possible. Just to give you an example that the customer would not fear, but that we have today, you cannot, most of the time, you cannot install a V2G if you have a solar inverter at home, because you have 2 generators and it's just impossible to install. That's what the customer wants today. They always consider, I have a home solar solution, I want a V2G, and in most countries, this is not feasible today. So I believe this must change.
Last famous words from Robin.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we have like a European certification. So now you have to certify car plus charger in each country, and this will limit the rollout. And why should we do that? I mean, the grids are not that different in the European countries. So like with the RDW, the Dutch authority for approving cars that are allowed on the road, already other European organizations are taking over the RDW certification. It should be the same for this. So we certify it in maybe 1 or 2 countries, and then it's okay for all European grids. And then we can, of course, set different parameters in the wall box for different kits. Done. I think that's the most important one.
Give them a big round of applause. Please, thank you for them. And the deep dive is at?
4:30.
4:30 where?
G1, electrification stage.
At the electric. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we will be talking, I think, next EVS's on V2G as well. So thank you so much, and kindly ask you to leave the stage. So Sander, are you joining me again? We're 2 minutes late. I'm sorry. I don't know how precise are Swedish with time.